Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Parent Support Program hosted by East. My name is Jerry Prince. I am the Senior Director of Program Services at the East Initiative. Our overall goal behind this Parent Support Program, as the slide is showing there, is just to help you, to help improve your technical skills and knowledge in order to help support your students, whether they're young or whether they're a little bit older, to help them in their virtual learning. If you're unfamiliar with East, there's a little bit about us. We're centered in Little Rock. We do have advanced technology in classrooms around the state, as well as a few programs outside of the state, working with youth as well as young as second grade all the way up into post-secondary. And we're excited about working with you because our mission is not to just work with the typical K-12 students. We're all learners, and the things that we're going to go over today are some of the things that I have learned, and I'm going to learn a few things as we go through as well. I always do when doing trainings, but we're excited to work with all learners, and we want this to be a good experience, and we're going to have some fun today. So thank you for joining us, whether you're joining us live or you're watching this a little bit later. Hopefully there are some things that we will cover that you'll go, I didn't know about that, or I knew a little bit about that, but now I have learned some more. And there may be some things that it's like I don't completely understand, and that's okay too. So my name is Jerry Prince, and I'll give you my email address at the end of this. Here are our plans. So even if you don't do technology, as some of my folks and in-laws are, that's quite okay. I understand it can be rather overwhelming, and it can get to you. But we're going to go through some things and help us identify potential problems. And look for some of the common issues. We're not going deep. The things that we are going to be looking at today, I'm going to say are non-invasive. We're not going to destroy anything. And so the things that we're looking at are going to be very safe. If we go past very safe, we certainly will let you know that this may be a little bit more risky. But for the most part, everything that we are doing is completely safe. You're not going to tear up anything. I've learned the hard way of where to draw that line. So that's where we're gonna go. Here's a link for you. Jot this down and come back to it. This basically is kind of the roadmap for today. It is a Google Doc that's nothing but links. eastlink.me/EU troubleshooting. It is case sensitive. So capital E, capital U, capital T, eastlink.me EU troubleshooting. I'll give you a second. And again, this document will remain live, and I may even update it with some other stuff depending on where all we go today. But this basically is just a simple Google Doc. I actually have it, I think, so I can show it. Oh, there it is. And it's just a basic with where we're going to go today. We're going to start at the very top. We're going to try to go through as many of these as we possibly can. And it's linked to more information. Here's something that I have kind of determined. If I can figure out if I can identify my problem. If I can identify my problem, I can find the answer. With the internet, with all that is out there, with the search engines that are out there, if I can narrow down so I have a better idea of what to ask these search engines, I can find the answer of how to fix it. And so that's where we're going to focus on today, is helping identify what those problems actually are. So we're going to start at the top of that document. I've got the document over here on the side, so I don't have to keep pulling it up. And we're going to talk a little bit about physical versus digital. Whether you're using a tower computer, that's a computer that's got a box with monitors on it, or you're using a laptop, whether it's a Chromebook or a laptop running Windows, or even if it's a MacBook, it has to cool. And so this air circulating can cause some problems in that dust and grime can develop. And so it's a simple thing of using canned air. Canned air is expensive for some reason or another, but it's the absolute safest rather than using a vacuum cleaner or an air hose. Vacuum cleaner and an air hose can actually have static electricity. And static electricity is like miniature lightning. It can do a lot of damage. and canned air is expensive, but it's very safe. And so I call them dust bunnies. Once in a while, you just need to blow everything out, whether it's a laptop, whatever it is, and you can find vents on the laptop anywhere that there's a hole and you can feel heat coming out. You squirt air wherever. And if you're using a desktop, you may not necessarily have to take a cover off. I'd encourage you to take the cover off and go ahead and just give it a good cleaning once in a while. Otherwise, it's potentially going to overheat, and that's going to cause some problems. I will also tell you, if you wait a long time, it can be really messy. Would not recommend doing this inside the house if you haven't got rid of those dust bunnies in a while. So that's our first thing, is clean. Just a good old-fashioned cleaning, so there's good airflow and we don't have to worry about things overheating. That's about all physical we're going to talk about. Yeah, there are fingerprints and cleaning monitors and that sort of thing, but that's not really anything major that we need to talk about. So let's get into cleaning things digitally. I'm going to introduce you to a number of programs that you can download today. They're all free. But they're also all very powerful in that how can we use some tools that are out there to help us better understand and to also use them to clean. One of those is called Ccleaner, and it's linked. I have all of these linked on the document that we showed just a minute ago. Ccleaner is free for home use, as you see here, and there are a number of tools, and we're going to refer back to some of these in just a little bit. We're going to use a number of the tools here that Ccleaner actually offers for us. So we see when we open up Ccleaner, and again, I'm going to kind of go through, and I'm not giving you time to download and install all of these. So I'm not going to go too fast. Hopefully I won't go too fast, but we're just going to kind of move through, and you can come back if you need to rewatch something. I think you'll retain all of this. I don't believe it's really going to be necessary to come back and watch again. But we're going to kind of go through rather than give you time to catch up or to load all of these. So don't feel like you're getting behind or anything. You'll be fine in coming back and checking these a little bit later. I'm going to skip the health check right now. And I probably should not have done that because it just closed. It just closed everything. It just closed everything that I had open. So maybe I should have paid a little bit closer attention to what was going on. See, and that is one thing that I have kind of learned the hard way. Always read carefully before you tell it to do something, because what did it say? I wasn't watching, but I guarantee you it said close and analyze. And so I closed my browser and it had all of the information that I needed on it. And now I'm just going to have to kind of wing it. I may jump over here and see if I can open it again real quickly, because that's where I had my cheat sheet. So give me just a second. I'm going to have to go back, and it was eastlink.me, EU troubleshooting. My apologies for that. All right, I'm back. I am back to at least close to where I need, and you're just looking at an empty screen. Ccleaner. So maybe step number one, always read when there's a box that pops up. Always read. So when you agree to something, you understand what you agreed to. And you just experienced it with me when you're clicking something and you're actually not paying attention. So basically what I did was Ccleaner was going to analyze my browser. And in order to fully analyze my browser, it had to close my browser. And that's what I said yes to just a minute ago. You see, there's some other things over here. There's custom clean, there are tools, and we're going to play with these a little bit more here in just a little bit. So let's jump into another tool. We're going to leave this running in the background. I wanted to make use and talk a little bit about right in the beginning some of the things that Ccleaner is there, and I wanted to go ahead and get it on our list of things. Let's take a look now at processes. So computer has a number of things running in the background, and we need to have a little bit better of an understanding exactly what is it doing. And there are a number of tools. One is built in Windows, and it is called the Task Manager. And I can right click, and there are a number of places. And I think if you actually look at that link, Task Manager, I think you will see they say there are 6 or 7 different ways to get to this. I simply right click on my taskbar at the bottom and I pull up Task Manager. This is important for us in that this is basically giving us a view of everything that the computer is doing. If we think about an automatic, or if we think about an automobile, that there's a lot of things going on with the automobile. Yeah, the engine is running, but there's a water pump running. The brakes are doing its thing. The air conditioner is doing its things. The wheels are in the there's a lot of different things going on. And Task Manager shows us everything that is going on our computer. Why do we need to know that? Well, if there is something causing an issue, this will help us identify exactly what it is. When Task Manager pops up, this shows me all of the programs that are currently running. I have Ccleaner running, that's running in the background. I have a browser that actually is running that I wasn't aware that it was running. I think it started a moment ago. I have 2 instances of Chrome. I've got a Process Explorer we're going to look at in just a little bit, an uninstalled program we're going to look at in just a little bit, and Zoom. But there's a lot more. I closed almost everything before we started this session, but there's a lot more going on. And if I click more details, this is going to show me what I really need to know. So a lot of information here. And again, all I'm doing is looking. What is going on my computer? Why would I need to know that? Well, is it running a little slow? Is it hanging up? Is it pausing? Is it locking up? And so I can actually look and see everything that my computer is doing. If I have absolutely everything closed, I don't have a browser open, I don't have Microsoft Word open, I don't have anything open, there are still going to be a number of things here showing. We see down here background processes. These are all programs. These are all processes going on in the background. There's Logitech that has to do with my mouse. Microsoft Office isn't running, but there's something running in the background. NVIDIA is part of my graphics card. There's stuff running everywhere. And that's kind of important for me to know what all is running. And so this will show me things that I have no device association framework. I don't know what that is. Well, I could look it up. But what this window is showing us is not just what is running, but the resources. What resources are being used? I see here CPU, memory, disk, network, and even GPU. I think I can actually right click up here and add more to that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that as it is. So let's talk a little bit about this. Right now, I'm doing minimal. I got Zoom running and a couple of other things in the background, but 28% of my engine, my CPU, my processing unit, my computer processing unit, 33, 35, 38% of it is running right now. And I can sort by clicking, I can sort that column and it will show me at the top what is using the most of that resource. And so if there is something running and running my computer kind of hard, right now it's Zoom using about 20% of my engine, this will allow me to see what is actually running. So there may be something running in the background that you're not aware of. If you're technically not doing anything, but your CPU is high, you can now identify what that is, and I can find the name over here, whatever it is, and I can search for it, and I actually may be able to right-click. Yes, I can right-click. I thought it was there, and notice it says search online. I can find the process that I want to know more information about, and it will search that process online, and I can find out a little bit more about it. Now we can do some other things here as well. Notice that if I find something and I'm kind of curious, it's like, okay, I don't know what that is, and it's using a lot of my resources, I can right click on any of them and I can end it. Now, again, we said this wasn't going to be invasive. If it is something very crucial, Windows is not going to let me close it. It's not going to let me end it. And even if I do end something and it's important, when I reboot, when I turn my computer off and back on, it's going to start again. So I'm not doing any damage. I'm not deleting anything. I'm not nuking anything. I'm simply ending whatever is running simply by right-clicking on it. If I find it and go, okay, that's using a lot, I don't know what it is, and I'm going to right-click and I'm going to end it and see if that helps me just a little bit. So that's using some of the tools that are here. Memory is also very important. I can now sort according to memory, and you notice Google Chrome is using quite a bit. I'm using 27% of the memory that I have. I have a ton of memory in this computer. I forgot how much, but a lot. But even though I'm not doing a lot, Chrome is using a vast amount of my resources. And I will tell you, I only have one window open and it's got that troubleshooting guide on it. And so that's a little concerning to me. But if you look over here, it says Google Chrome 23. What does that mean? 23 instances of Google Chrome? No, we're going to come back to that. Chrome has a number of processes running in the background. And so it's not that I have 23 instances of Chrome. It's that Chrome has a lot that is running inside of Chrome. All those little plugins, all those little things, those add-ons add up. We're going to come back to that. So this will allow me to see if I'm using a lot of memory. Why are we talking about that? If you're using 100% or if you're using a lot of the memory, this often is where things start freezing. Memory is, think of it like your desktop, your physical desktop. I have a desk here that I'm working from, and it's where I put everything that I want to work with. Well, memory in this instance is where I put Google and where I put Word, everything that I am working with on my computer, including all those things in the background, it's what's there. And so I'm going to say it's like my desktop. And when my desktop gets full, I no longer can operate. I no longer can do anything because it's now, I can't function. And so I can look and see what is causing the most problem. There could be something simply running in the background that is eating into my memory. I can find out what that is. And again, we can identify the problem. And now we at least have a direction to head into. Talk about a couple more before we move on. Disk. This actually is the reading and writing to the hard drive. Think about the hard drive as a filing cabinet. If I've got my desktop, I'm going to look now that the hard drive is actually the filing cabinet where everything is. And not a whole lot happening right now. I'm not back and forth to that storage place. But if there is a lot going on there, I might need to look and see what is that. Network is kind of important. That simply is information that's sending back and forth on the internet. I'm sending information and I am receiving information. If we have a high network use, this number is high, even though I don't think I'm downloading anything, I don't think I'm uploading anything. This normally is an indication that something is wrong. There may be a program that is doing something in the background that we need to check into. This sometimes is a good place to see if you've got a virus or something along that line. The virus is going to be using horsepower. It may be using memory, and typically it's wanting to talk to the mothership. And so this little tool, this task manager, tells us a lot of information just with the basic that we are looking at about what is going on our computer. There's some tabs up here, and it'll give us some charts that we can actually visualize what's going on, which is kind of cool. We can look at history. We're going to glance at startup here in a little bit, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper in that in just a moment. But this actually is giving me a history of the apps that are running. And if I've got something suspicious, I can actually look and see what its history is, how much network has it used, how much CPU time. And so there's some pretty cool stuff. Startup we're going to look at again in just a little bit, but just be aware that it too is on this tab. All right, I'm going to inhale, catch my breath, and I want to look at another task manager. This is one you can download, and it is called Process Explorer. It is linked, and it is this guy right here. It is like the task manager, except it's got a lot more. It's got a lot more detail, maybe more detail than you actually want. This is a free download. Notice that it has my CPU, and I can turn on and turn off just like my other one. There are lots more columns here. These are just the basics. This is the amount of memory that is working and the description and actually where it's located. So now this actually gives us a lot more detail, and when I leave my mouse over it, it actually tells me where that process is located on my computer, which may even give some hint of what it is. This is under Windows, so that tells me a little bit. There's calculator, it tells me specifically, but this breaks out every little individual. So where we looked at Task Manager a minute ago, these are the same processes, except it's getting into a lot more detail of some of the processes that are running as part of a bigger process. So I like this tool. This gives me a lot more information. And again, I can right click, I can kill the process, I can restart. It'll stop it and then restart it, which is kind of interesting. And there's some other pretty cool stuff as well. This is called Process Explorer under sysinternals, sysinternals.com. I also made a note there. They do a really good job of explaining the utilities, and there are a few more utilities there that you may want to, if you like this one, you may want to check out as well. All right, we talked about startup. I'm going to go back to Ccleaner now, and I'm going to go to the tool under tools, and there's a couple here. We'll talk about uninstall before our time is up, but I'm going to look under startup. Again, Ccleaner, tools, startup. Here is a list. Mine's pretty clean because I don't like stuff running that don't need to be running. And we've kind of looked at why. So these are programs that run at startup. When my computer comes on, these are programs that run automatically. Typically, there are a lot here. Here is the Ccleaner Smart Cleaning. When I install that, it automatically set a program to start when I turn my computer on. That's part of Ccleaner. I turned it off. Why? Maybe I'm a little retentive and having stuff running that don't need to be running. I just didn't want it running. I didn't have a need for it running. And so I clicked on it and I disabled. Now notice when I disable it, it doesn't delete it. I can delete it, but I just turned it off so it doesn't run. I can turn it back on just like that. And so again, I can control what is going on when I turn on my computer. Do we just want to turn off everything? Yeah, you can. If you miss something, you can come back and turn it on. Scheduled tasks also very similar in that they are going to run, maybe not on startup, but they are going to run at some other time. And we can see the name of them. We can see the publisher. We can actually see the location. And so a couple of things there that we were able to go in and see, okay, these things are running in the background. Why are they running in the background? Who told them to run in the background? And I can control what actually is running in the background. So that's startup for Ccleaner. There's also a Windows tool that will do very similar. And you can search and find that one, but I like the capacity and I like all of the extras that Ccleaner has. I use Ccleaner for a number of things, and that tool is handy, so I just go to Ccleaner. Notice there's an advanced mode over here too, in that you can dig in, you can find even a little bit more information if you kind of like what this tool is given to you. Again, we're not deleting anything, we're not doing any damage, we're simply telling something, don't run when I start or don't run as a scheduled task. And again, if it's something that you need, you can come back and you can turn it on. All right, where else do we need to go? Let's talk a little bit about uninstallers. You have installed some software and you need to get rid of it. For whatever reason, you don't need it anymore. And again, you can leave stuff on there. But again, if I'm not using it and I'm not going to use it for a while, I want it gone. Don't ask me why. I have plenty of space. It's just one of the issues I guess I was born with. I don't know. I delete it. I uninstall it. If I need it again later, I'll come back and I'll reinstall it. Well, there are programs. Windows does have a program to uninstall, and it will uninstall. The downside of that is often there are remnants of programs left behind. And there are uninstallers. I have linked to one called IOBit Uninstaller. And this program actually not only uninstalls the main components, it uninstalls everything that is associated with that program. For instance, here's Chrome. Chrome may have bits and pieces scattered in various places in my filing cabinet on my hard drive, and the Windows tool may not clean it out real well. And so these uninstaller programs will actually search and identify all of these little components and give it a really good cleaning. So there are no more remnants of these programs. And again, do you have to do that? No, it's just probably an issue that I was born with that I have to deal with. But I like clean. And this will allow me to clean those programs. Notice this uninstaller, you'll see these often. There's an install monitor that I can turn on. I don't use it. And guess what this is going to do? When I turn this on, it's going to start automatically. When I turn my computer on, it's going to run in the background. And so it's going to show in those multiple lists. It's going to take some horsepower. It's going to take some memory, and it's going to be running in the background. See how that fits into what we've been talking about? But it's going to monitor everything that I install. Detects and logs system changes in installation, which allows you to see what the changes monitored during that installation. So it's going to give you a little bit more of an idea. This is what happened when you installed that. I don't use it. Be aware that it is there. There's some other pretty cool tools as part of uninstaller as well. Again, this is a free one. So happy, and I've had no issues with this. It is a little more invasive because when you uninstall something, you're telling it to scan the computer and remove everything. I've not had any issues with it removing something that it didn't need to remove. All right. So we've talked about uninstallers. We talked about processes just a little bit. I want to go back to Chrome, and I'm going to open up a tool here. Don't pay attention to all the stuff that's on the window. I'm going to open up a task manager that is a part of Chrome. Let me see if I can get rid of some of the stuff that is on the screen. Apparently I can't. So this is a task manager in Chrome. I found that simply by going to the hamburger menu, the top right-hand side, more tools, and task manager. You can Google task manager. There's other ways of getting to it as well. So it is a task manager that is just looking at tasks that Chrome is running. Remember looking at Chrome a minute ago and it had what, 23 or 53 or some odd instances? Here are all of those instances. Similarly, notice I've got over here my CPU, network, and memory. Similar instances. So what is Chrome? And again, right now I only have one tab. What is Chrome doing? Well, if I click CPU, it's going to organize that, ranking the process that is using the most of my CPU. And right now it's not much. It's just the browser. But notice all of these other things. What's all this other stuff? These are all those little add-ons. These are all of those extensions like the Great Suspender, or I use LastPass for a password manager. I use Bitmoji. And these are all those little things running in the background. They're not doing anything right now, but they are using some of my memory. And so if I don't have a whole lot of memory, I don't have a whole lot of workspace, And I've loaded down Chrome with all of these extensions. And now my browser is freezing on me. Why would my browser, well, my browser usually is going to freeze because I'm out of resources. Either I don't have horsepower, CPU, or I'm out of working space, memory. Where did all of my horsepower go? Where did all my memory go? I can look here and I can see, and again, if I'm not using the extension, I can disable it. I can come back and re-enable it later, or I can uninstall it. This also is showing us something that might be accessing the network that is causing some problems as well. Task Manager, except this is inside of Chrome, and I can easily identify those various components that are running in the background of Chrome. And I can kill them by selecting, and in process is right down here. They'll start again later on. This is just a temporary move. Again, we're trying to identify possible problems. And if I can identify the problem, I now can search and find the answer on how to fix and how to solve that problem. Next is repairing. The next thing on my list is repairing. So for the most part, we're not going to jump into this, but when we have identified, I need to pay very specific attention and ask Google or Bing or whoever very specific questions rather than, I got a computer error. Okay, what is the error? Okay, this task is using too much memory. And so be very, very specific when you are searching. The more specific your question, the more specific the answer is going to be. And so I had said error someplace, and this actually will kind of start you down that road of helping identify how to fix some of these errors. Let's talk a little bit about updating. There is the task of Windows Update. I'll open it by searching for update and resize it here. Possibly looks like Jerry needs some updates. Some people say you should never ever do this until it's been. I've not had any issues with updates. Usually one of the first things that you read when you're trying to solve a problem, the question will be, are you running an updated operating system? And I just run this practically every day. Last time it was checked was at 6:53 this morning. And since then, I have some other things that need popped up. One of them is the antivirus that is running in the background, keeping an eye on everything. There's an updated preview, and I can search for that if I'm really curious. And looks like there's a device for when I plug up my Apple phone that needs updated as well. Okay, that may explain why my phone's not been working like it should when I plug it up to my computer. Okay, and then there's another one down here, optional. Ooh, cumulative update. And I can view and find out more about that. That's optional, which means it's not that crucial. But Windows updates are important for us. There's a thing called Patch Tuesday. I believe it is the second Tuesday of every month that typically Windows releases all of their major updates. It may be the first since this one is showing down here, but they do a thing called Patch Tuesday. I think they may be getting away from it, but you may have heard that before. Google and read a little bit about that. I've linked it there. System Restore. What System Restore allows us to do is to go back in time, and that the computer will take a snapshot of how everything is installed and put together. And if I goof, if I really mess up something, I actually can go back into time prior to where that event took place. I simply linked it there. We're not going to jump into it as time marches on, but I have linked that as part of the process that you might want to look into. It's a safety net. It's a good safety net. If you're doing something and you're a little bit worried about it, you can create that restore point and go back in time as though nothing ever happened. That has saved me on more than one occasion. All right, finding something. I can't find, I have saved something. Now, this isn't really troubleshooting, but it does cause trouble if you can't find it. Windows has a pretty good search engine. But if you haven't figured me out yet, you know that there's a better mousetrap out there somewhere. There are a couple of utilities. One is called Everything, and it is a search engine. Let me see if I can make this a little smaller so we can fit it and we can see it. And it's linked there. It is free. Absolutely love this tool. It is a lightweight tool. We can look in the resource or the task manager and we can see it's running a little bit. It's just now starting. And so it's running some of my CPU using a little bit of my memory. But yeah, there it is. It wasn't there earlier. It is a really good search tool in that it will index. It basically will do a quick scan of your computer. And you see that I have 2,968,799 objects, files on my computer. Obviously, I don't delete everything. There's a bunch of stuff on this computer. This does a really good job of searching its name, everything. And we can actually drill down and search for things in particular. It's very lightweight, doesn't take very much to use at all. So I wanted to mention that to you. If you need something that is more powerful than Everything, there are some paid programs that are very valuable. Copernic is one of them. I'll mention Copernic. Copernic actually will scan the text inside documents. Everything is basically going to look for the name of the document or the type of the document, or you can search by date. Copernic, you actually can have it look for information inside documents, which means it's a massive effort. And so, yeah, it's a bigger program. It takes a little bit more horsepower for it to do its thing, but be aware that it is there. If you are prone to saving stuff, not having any possible idea where you saved it, Copernic, it's relatively inexpensive, is very much worth looking out as well, worth looking for. All right. I did mention a little something about saving files, and this I think does cause a bit of issue. Simply be aware when you save something. Let's pull up Notepad, for instance. When I save something, I can choose where I save it. If I click save here, it's going to ask me, where do you want to save it? Well, right now I read up here and it says it's going to save it under this PC, under local disk C, Windows, System 32 drivers, and etc. I ain't going to remember that. I am not going to. Where am I going to save this? So strongly encourage you, create files, create folders, and organize your data just like you would a filing cabinet with papers and files. It takes just a second of time to create a folder and name it something that's going to help you remember and help you organize. It takes a little bit of time, and yeah, I just need it for a minute or two. Okay, well, I'm going to have to go find this in a minute or two, and I'm probably going to pull Copernic up to go find it. Just use a little bit of effort and manage your resources, because I mean, a folder is minimal. And so creating folders within folders, ever how it is you want to name them, a lot of good information if you need some resources on that out there. So saving, how you save, where you save, totally up to you. Doesn't matter. Just like stuff on my desktop. If I want my pen here instead of here, I can do that. It's totally up to you. So take a little bit of time and pay attention. Where do you save it? Students will ask, where do I need to save that? Wherever you're going to remember that you put it. Do I put it on the desktop? You can put it on the desktop. However, your desktop of your computer's only got so much space. I would recommend you saving it in a place that you can easily find, whether today or next year. Otherwise, you're going to have to rely on some pretty powerful searches to go try to find it. Using multiple browsers. We're getting toward the end of my list here. I use Chrome extensively. However, I have several other browsers. Sometimes things don't work on Chrome. Sometimes it's because of the extensions that I have. And so I have some browsers that I have no extensions installed whatsoever, so that it is a clean browser. So if I'm having trouble getting to a specific site that maybe it's being blocked by something I've got running on Chrome, I've got a clean browser somewhere else. And again, these are free downloads, whether you're using a Microsoft's browser or you're using Firefox. Ccleaner, as you saw a moment ago, Ccleaner actually has a browser out now. Or you're using Microsoft Edge or Eudora or Brave. Have a second browser, a clean one that you don't have any extensions, you're not logged on to, it's doing nothing. I can't tell you how many times a day that I simply go, okay, something's not looking right there. Let me go open it up over here. And then if it doesn't open somewhere else, I know it wasn't something that I did. Recovering lost files. Recuva, RECUVA, is a program built by the same people. I can't type and talk at the same time. That's not a skill that I gained. And Recuva is built by the same people that have a Ccleaner. You deleted something and you need it back. Typically, this doesn't work well at all. The sooner you look for it, the better. We're not going to get into a lot of what happens, but Recuva is decent at recovering your deleted files. It can take a little bit of time, or it can take a very long time. If you've deleted it, it's not in the recycle bin or what have you, there are tools out there that might be able to get it back. Do not depend on these. This doesn't work that well. It's helped me a time or two, but for the most part, these are not that successful. I mention it because it's worth a try. It's free, and so it's worth the effort. And Recuva is that tool that I play with. We're not going to talk about components of a computer. We talked a little bit about the CPU, a little bit about RAM. There's a link there if you're needing to upgrade. That's a little bit more intensive, a little bit more invasive. It is not impossible, and it's actually a pretty good experience. If you need to upgrade a hard drive, if you need to add to your memory, there's a little bit of work involved. There's a little bit of research. But it is not impossible at all. And we've got some links there that will help you do that. There's a very good tool that also will help you identify what hardware you have. I think I installed this earlier. It's called Specky, and I've linked to it. It's free, and it simply will scan your system and show all of the various components that are there. Your graphics card, and other things that you may or may not recognize, but all of those things that are plugged in there. It gives you a little bit of detail about it. We talked about heat earlier. There's the temperature of my drives. There's the temperature of the motherboard that everything plugs into. And I see a little green thing. Green's good. If you're looking over there and it's yellow or red, you may have some dust bunnies or something is running in the background causing a lot of issues. If all else fails, you can reset. You can reset. Reset this PC. That's not the window I was looking for. That's the window I was looking for. If we type the word reset, this computer isn't running well. Resetting it may help. It actually will reinstall Windows, and you have the option of leaving your personal files alone or removing them. One's a wee bit more invasive than the other. But if there are lots of problems, this basically will reinstall Windows. Now you're going to have to go back and reinstall Chrome and some of those other things. It's not that big of a deal. I recommend probably doing this once a year. Again, it's more invasive, but it cleans everything up. I mean, it's not like changing the oil in your vehicle. I mean, it's like getting a new vehicle to a strong degree. And so if there are lots of things going on in the background, it may be that resetting it is the better route to go. Again, this one is more invasive, and it's going to warn you several times as we click these buttons. It's going to warn you, and it's going to tell you, here's what's going to happen. Are you sure you want to do this? anytime that box pops up and it says, are you sure you want to do this? That's a little flag in my mind. I like, this is serious. And that's the way that I take those sorts of things. All right, our time has just about disappeared here. I think I have gone through most everything that is on my list. I'm going to inhale one more time and share a couple of things with you. I'm going to stop my share. I don't think there's anything that I actually need to share, and let you look at my beautiful face for a second. Is junk mail and phone calls. What does that have to do with troubleshooting? If you do not have more than one email account, Gmail, they're free. I use Google, very pleased with Google. I don't care what service you use, Yahoo or Hotmail or whatever's out there now. Strongly encourage you, have at least one junk mail account that you use it for signing up for things that you don't care if you ever hear from these people again. Strongly recommend. Have an email that only your closest friends and family have access to. That way, the emails that are coming in that are important to you don't get lost with all of those others that are wanting you to buy something from some prince in Nigeria. All right. And along that line, with Google, I don't know how much longer they may offer this, but it's still out there now. Google Voice, voice.google.com. You can get yourself a phone number. It is a phone number that anybody can call, and it is a virtual phone number, if you will, and your cell phone don't ring unless you ask it to. Here's what I do. I created under one of my accounts, under one of my junk mail accounts, I set up a phone number, a Google Voice number. And that's the number I put on all of the forms that require a phone number. Why do I do that? Because this cell phone is the only phone that I have. I don't have a landline. We're not in the office now. And so that number, I don't want everybody having that number. I give that Google Voice number. In setting it up, you can send a notification to your email, and you can send voicemail to your email. And so it is a valid phone number that now is automatically going to be filtered, but you're not going to miss a call because you will see who called, and you also will get a voicemail if they left that voicemail. So that's not really inside troubleshooting and repair and things along that line, but I wanted to pass that along as you're kind of digging through some of these things. So we have a couple of minutes left. I don't know that we've had any questions. That's either good or that's bad. I will tell you that email me. I'm happy to try to answer or walk you through something. Jerry@eaststaff.org. Or you can call that number. I'll give you that number. My junk mail phone number is 501-288-9332. You call it. I'm not going to answer, but you can call and leave me a message. Email me at jerry@eaststaff.org. That's not a junk mail. That is my primary work email that I'm sharing with you, jerry@eaststaff.org. And I'll be happy to help you out, point you in some additional directions or what have you. But hopefully we've covered a few things today that didn't overwhelm you, got your curiosity. You went and played with some stuff, didn't you, Amy?
I played around. Yes, I did. And I'm definitely going to get myself a phone number on Google Voice. But the Ccleaner thing just fascinates me. There's just so much to it. So
it is, and we didn't even get into
the document. Yeah. I appreciate having the document to go back and look through it.
We didn't even get into what a lot of these programs to do. So honestly, folks, this was just an introduction.
Yes.
To some of the tools that are out there that may look a little bit scary, but they're actually very safe to help you kind of dig in a little bit and get a better understanding of what's going on. So if there are some problems, you at least have a little bit of information to move forward in helping someone else or helping identify how to sort all that. So again, jerry@eaststaff.org, and we greatly appreciate the time and effort that you folks have given us here. Miss Amy, anything else before we hit eject?
Thank you, Jerry. As always, just a wealth of information.
I'm full
yeah,
of it.
thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to join us on Tuesday. I'll be leading a session on Google Chrome Basics. So we will see you then.